All right, we're back for our best bets for UFC Noche this week from the Frostbank Center in San Antonio, Texas. In the main event of Noche, we've got Diego Lopez taking on Jean Silva in the featherweight division. But here we've got our 5 best bets for this entire card. And before we get into the video, folks, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more UFC/PFL/just MMA content here on Greedo Plays MMA. We're going to have our Contender Series predictions out on Sunday. UFC's off next week, but then we've got 2 PFL cards the week after, along with the UFC Australia card, so make sure to stay tuned on the channel for that. On the main channel this week, Greedo Plays, we've got our weekly college football predictions, over 2.5 hours long college football predictions every single week, every single game, every single week over there. NFL predictions along with our daily MLB best bets. Go subscribe over there. That's linked in the description down below. Okay, let's get on to the first of our 5 best bets today for UFC Noche. Kicking things off with our first money line. Gonna have a couple of these. Guys, I said this earlier in the week, and I've done more digging, obviously, on these fights, and if I feature a fight, on this video, obviously I like it a lot, and there's going to be one later in the video that I have fully got into, really look at, and really like. I'm first going with Jesus Aguilar to beat Luis Garul. Okay? I still think Aguilar is going to get this fight, and I think he's going to win it. I think Luis Garul is extremely overrated. I don't know how he's such a big favorite. It doesn't make sense to me. The fact that Aguilar is a plus 175 dog makes absolutely no sense. This is a 3-2 UFC fighter, and I get it, his wins are not the highest of level. It's a win over Shannon Ross, who probably never should have been in the UFC, and Shannon Ross is getting knocked out by everybody, and Aguilar hits him with an overhand right, boom, puts him out. A split decision victory and a close win over Mateus Mendoza, and then a victory over Stuart Nickel back at UFC 305 in Australia. He catches him in a guillotine choke in the first round. Aguilar misses weight in that fight. He still picks up the victory. Now, he does make weight in his next fight at 125, but they give him a minus 500 favorite in Rafael Estevam. Estevam goes out there and beats him by unanimous decision. I think it's a great spot for him, though. Luis Garul, I'm not impressed by. Again, you're not going to find a bigger Ode Osborne fan than myself. I'm a huge Ode guy. But if Ode Osborne's knocked you out in the second round, I just can't treat you seriously as a prospect. Luis Garul, right, fight on in the Contender Series, goes out there, picks up the victory, gets out wrestled, but does more damage, obviously, and I'm fine with that. Again, I thought Garul, I'm okay with the decision. It's damage-based scoring, right? Piccanini goes in there and just wrestles him the entire time. Garul's the one actually doing damage on the feet. I have no problem with that. But if you're getting taken down that much by Piccanini, there's a potential Aguilar could look to take him down as well. I'm not saying, again, he's going to do that, but there's that possibility. Aguilar has a grappling game. He has some wrestling in the back pocket, but ultimately, I think we're going to see a striking fight. And I think in a striking fight, I'm going to go with Aguilar to pick up the victory. I think he can go out here, and I think he can really put it on Luis Garul. I look at Aguilar's win over Shannon Ross. Again, he tags him in the first round, but there is power there, right? And I know, right, Ross is getting knocked out by everybody, but he was able to tag Shannon Ross and Mateus Mendoza victory. It's a horrible fight. Don't get me wrong. Like, nothing happens, and he does get out grappled. I don't know. It is what it is. You can kind of throw that fight out. The Nickel fight, there's not much striking there either. I understand that. But, guys, Luis Garul's coming off a loss against the only half-decent guy he's fought. Well, 2, Ode, and then Piccanini. Other than that, he was a very untested guy in Fury, Fought a couple, he fought a guy in Jonathan Davis who was 7-2 at the time, not a bad prospect, but the same dude that Garul beat never fought ever again. He beat Carlos Loyoza, who was 7-3 at the time, but he's a New England cartel guy. So again, when you really dive deeper into Garul's, passing on the regional scene, victories aren't that great. Beats an Albert Trujillo, who was 9-3 at the time, now 9-6. Fought a lot of guys who just got to that position because they're beating up on cans. And then we see Garul in the UFC. Could you say he wins the first round against Ode? Probably, probably does. Ode doesn't do much. Garul wrestles, he gets a takedown, wins that first. Second round, though, Ode is winning on the feet that eventually drops him. I'm going Jesus Aguilar here. Again, I think it's too good to pass up on with the value. It just is. We get a guy to plus 170 dog against a fighter who's 0-1 in the UFC. I don't think Garul is some uber prospect. I don't think he's some crazy talent. We saw him get knocked out in his first UFC fight. He barely got by on the Contender Series. And on the regional scene, yeah, he was good, but who did he really beat? Never won the Fury Championship. Never had to fight like a Paris Moran over there. Well, I know, again, Moran, jury's still out on him, I would say, right? Never had to fight a Paris Moran. Never had to fight a guy like Alden Correa, who's on this card too. Never had to fight those guys. Got to the UFC without fighting the elite talents at Fury at 125 pounds, and here he is. First fight, gets knocked out in the second round. I'm going Jesus Aguilar. He has UFC experience. He's gone out there and win. And his only losses are Estevam and Tatsuro Taira. Okay? I know his wins, right? This is hard to really, it's hard to gauge really where he is, where Aguilar is. Because, again, lost to Taira, who's only lost to Brandon Royval, and Estevam, who's undefeated, but then wins over Nickel, Mendoza, and Shannon Ross, who are all no longer with the promotion. I think, again, the value's too good for me to pass up on here, so I have to go to it. Plus 170 for Jesus Aguilar. It was either this or we go Hernandez money line. We go Alexander Hernandez money line against Carlos Diego Fajeda. That was like my next one up, but I am going to go with this one instead. I'm going to go with the plus money on Jesus Aguilar to win on the undercard over Luis Geru. We move on now to our next bet. It's going to be a 3-leg, that's coming up later. First, we're going to a minus 135 favorite in Santiago Luna. So at the beginning of the week, I told you I was very split on the fight. I could go either way. The more I see out of Santiago Luna, the better I feel. Okay, at the beginning of the week, I was like, I don't know. Like, I was very 50-50. I was actually considering taking Quang Lee at the top of the week. I'm now going with Luna. The more I see, I think grappling-wise, he's very even with Quang Lee. I do think so. I've seen Luna, and again, he's fighting guys in random promotions, but he does have you know when a guy just passes the eye test, and you can see, all right, this guy knows what he's doing grappling-wise. I think Luna, again, has a solid base, and he knows what he's doing on the ground, okay? Striking-wise, I think it's an even fight, but I also have to consider at the same time, too, this is the Noche card, okay? There's a reason, right, that at least Pereira's on this card, right? They want an undefeated 19-year-old fighter to go out there and win on a big platform, right? This is what, we got to think about it from a bigger perspective than just the fight itself, okay? This is the Noche card. This is a big day for TKO/UFC, right? They get this in the morning. This card's starting at noon. And they get Canelo Crawford from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Like one of the biggest boxing fights of all time. The first ever Zuffa boxing or TKO boxing fight ever. Okay? It's a big day. There's going to be a lot of eyes on the product. Not just the UFC, but boxing as well. But just Dana White-led run things. There's going to be a lot of eyes. They want to get these young fighters winning on these cards. So you got to think about this from a PFL perspective too. Okay, and this is where I'll tie this into the PFL. PFL they'll give their undefeated up-and-coming guys the easiest matchups possible. This is what I think the UFC is doing here, right? They get Elise Pereira. I'm not going to get into her fight because she's a minus 200 favorite. She's going to beat Montserrat Rendon. Okay, Montserrat Rendon's 36 years old, and she's not that great, okay? Look at this fight here, right? I have no doubt in my mind that this is what they're trying to do with Santiago Luna. Okay, there's no other reason they'd bring in a 21-year-old making his UFC debut and not just put him on the card. No. He's opening the main card. They know something we don't from beyond. Oh, okay, he's got a grappling game. Like, his striking looks pretty good. You know, they know something we don't. Okay, there is no potential in Quang Lee winning on the main card of a UFC Noche card. There's no reason. They did this last year. Don't forget, by the way, they did this last year. Remember when Ricardo Rodriguez fought Ode Osborne? And Ode Osborne very clearly won, but they said, we're just going to give it to Rodriguez. Because it was an opener for the Sphere card at Noche. Ronaldo Rodriguez, not Ricardo. Ronaldo Rodriguez. Remember that? I'm not saying, again, this Quang Lee-Santiago Luna fight is going to go right down the distance. It's going to be a really close fight. It's going to be a split decision. No, I'm not going to tell you that, even though they gave Rodriguez unanimous against Ode. If it gets close, they're going to give it to Santiago Luna, who's 21 years of age, from Mexico, and actually has a future in the UFC. That's all I'm saying. Quang Lee is a 1-2 fighter. His only wins over Gaston Bolaños. But what has Quang Lee done in the UFC to really impress you so far? Serious. He out-wrestles Gaston Bolaños. I don't think he's going to be able to wrestle Santiago Luna. Guys, in every fight Quang Lee's had in the UFC, he's gotten out-boxed, out-kickboxed. I think Luna keeps the fight standing, and I think Luna can win on the feet, 100%. I'm not sold on Quang Lee's striking. He's not that fast. He gets hit a lot. Like, watch the Long Zhao fight. He gets hit quite a bit in that fight in Macau, China in 2024. He gets hit a lot. He gets dropped. The Gutierrez fight, I know, again, that was Quang Lee on short notice, but Gutierrez really just controls that bout. And the Bolaños fight, okay, good on Quang Lee for getting the win, right? Takes Bolaños down at will. He gets 4 takedowns in 5 minutes. He has controlled the entire first round, doesn't let Bolaños do anything. And then immediately in the second round, he gets a takedown as well. I don't think he's able to do that against Santiago Luna. And again, I got to consider, Luna is a 21-year-old prospect. There's a reason he's on this card. They think it's a very winnable matchup for him against a 33-year-old fighter in Quang Lee. And also, Luna's much bigger than Lee. Guys, Lee is a 5'6" bantamweight, which you know, it is what it is. Like, you know, you can fight bantamweight at 5'6", even though I would prefer if you were fighting flyweight for that. Santiago Luna is 5'9/5'10", looks a little taller than 5'9", so I'm gonna say 5'10", maybe not, right? But that's a big dude. I mean, advantage gonna be Luna. It's gonna be tough for Lee to get takedowns. It's gonna be tough for Lee to control the fight as well. I'm going with Santiago Luna in this bout, man. Again, I know this is supposed to be Quang Lee versus David Martinez, but here's the thing too. Santiago Luna, if you want to go from just a bigger perspective here, he's got nothing to lose. UFC debut. You're 21 years of age. Quang Lee, this is his last shot. And you got an opponent switch 2 weeks before the fight. Now you got to take on a 21-year-old killer. Hate it, man. Absolutely hate the spot for Quang Lee. I'm going with Santiago Luna to win his UFC debut at -135 odds. This line has jumped from +110 all the way to -135 for the Mexican here in Luna. Again, there's something that people know that we don't, so we're going to jump on it, okay? Give me Santiago Luna -135 to beat Quang Lee. Next up, we go to our aforementioned 3-leg parlay. Here it is. First leg, Kelvin Gastelum. Second leg, Tatiana Suarez. Third leg, Zach Reese. Actually, it should be the opposite. First leg's Reese. Second leg, Suarez. Third leg is going to be Gastelum. Here, I'm going to tell you why all of these are pretty much locks. Now, I wanted to go Dusko Todorovic here, but I can't trust Dusko Todorovic to win a fight. Okay, so I was debating, oh, do I go Todorovic? Do I go Reese? I decided going Reese instead. If you feel more confident in Dusko, go ahead. He's lost 4 of 5, but he's fighting a horrible fighter. I'm just going to be honest. And Jose Medina, no disrespect. He's a better fighter than I'll ever be, I think. No, definitely. Anyways, first leg of the parlay is going to be Zach Reese. Okay, the main reason we're going Zach Reese is because he's fighting Cedric Dumas. Cedric Dumas, guys, with all due respect, is not serious about fighting. He's not. The big headline out of Cedric Dumas on fight week is that he's broke. Well, normally, and this is the thing, this is the crazy part about this too, because normally when a fighter says they're broke, like remember Jared Cannonier beat Kelvin Gastelum in a main event in the Apex, and he said, I need to fight again. Like, I have no money, even though he just fought a 5-round main event on ESPN. He's like, I need to fight again. I don't care who I fight. Like, Bisping goes, oh, do you want to fight for the belt? And Cannonier's like, sure, I'll take the belt, but I just want to get it back in here because I want to fight again. So usually when that happens, and you know all these MMA Twitter accounts and whatnot, just the fan support all around, everyone goes and gives support to Cannonier, like, oh man, this is horrible, like, feel so bad for the guy. Pay the fighters. Like, Jake Paul will come out and say, pay the fighters. Cedric Dumas this week said he's broke, doesn't have any money, and usually the overall sentiment is, oh damn, that sucks. Like, he needs to get paid more. Nah, the sentiment around Cedric Dumas this week is, dude, you've been arrested 14 times. I don't know if that, I think I'm over-exaggerating a little bit, but I don't think I'm exaggerating by that much. What I'm getting to here is, yeah, this guy is, how can you be in all that legal trouble? His last fight didn't happen because he still had an ankle monitor on. I think that was true. Okay. You can't be that serious about fighting mixed martial arts. You can't. All right, so Cedric Dumas, by the way, is a 3-3 UFC fighter who's lost 2 of 3, albeit to Michal Solshaychuk and Nursultan Ruzabuyev. His wins are Cody Brundage, and I know Brundage beat Reese, but I'm going to bat a blind eye to that. Abu Zaitar, who was not the same after the steroids were gone. And then Dennis Tulin, who I don't even know how he got in the UFC, okay? Zach Reese should dominate this fight on the ground. Absolutely dominate it, all right? Cedric Dumas is grappling. I'm not high on it. I don't think many people are high on it. I think this is a very clear advantage for Zach Reese down there. And Reese is actually winning fights. He's coming off a Dusko Todorovic victory. He's 3-2 in the UFC. Yes, the Brundage loss sucked, but he got slammed on his head. It is what it is. Wins over Marquez, Medina, and Dusko. He's going to beat Dumas. That's the first leg of the parlay. Second leg of the parlay, we are going with Tatiana Suarez to beat Amanda Lemos. I am so confident in this. I was thinking about going Tatiana by finish, but it's a women's fight. What can I expect? I'm not going to bank on that. I'm not going to put my U.S. currency on that. Instead, I'm just going to go Tatiana Suarez to win for the second leg of the parlay. Amanda Lemos doesn't have grappling. What is Tatiana Suarez? What's her only thing? Grappling. This is Suarez's chance to get a title fight. Like, if she wins, I'm very confident she's going to get the winner of Mackenzie Dern and Vina Jandiroba, which, again, I kind of think that's going to be Mackenzie Dern. I don't know. I need to go over that more, but my early prediction on that fight is actually that Dern's going to win a striking fight, which I can't believe I'm going to probably pick Mackenzie Dern to win a world championship. Tatiana will probably destroy her. But anyways, right, this fight's everything for Tatiana Suarez. I don't know if there's a pathway to the belt if she can't beat a 38-year-old Amanda Lemos. Come on now. A Lemos who's never had grappling, who Vina destroyed on the ground, who Zhang Wei Li destroyed on the ground. This is the easiest part of the parlay, Suarez. I know, again, never want to put that much into a women's MMA fight and bank on a women's MMA result. No. We can here. Tatiana Suarez will maul Amanda Lemos in there. And the final leg of the 3-leg parlay is going to be Kelvin Gastelum. Guys, if Kelvin Gastelum can't beat Dustin Stoltzfus, I said this earlier in the week, he should just retire. He should. he should join Joey Chestnut and become a professional eater. And I'm not being rude. I'm not being mean about that. I just genuinely think Kelvin Gastelum would enjoy that. Okay? But I don't think he has to join Joey Chestnut to be a professional eater. Actually, I think Chestnut retired. Anyways, Kelvin Gastelum, just if he cut more weight, he'd be much better. He's on a different level than Dustin Stoltzfus. Guys, Kelvin Gastelum, his entire career has gone from fighting the Michael Bispings of the world, the Israel Adesanya's, the Chris Weidmans, booked against Anderson Silva at one point, Jared Cannonier, Robert Whitaker, hell, Joe Pyfer. I know Joe Pyfer's a way big step down, but still recently, Pyfer, Curtis, Sean Brady, D-Rod, to Dustin Stoltzfus, who arguably shouldn't be in the UFC. If you can't be a 3-6 Dustin Stoltzfus, Kelvin Gastelum, I don't know what to tell you, pal. I don't know what to say. His wins are Marc-Andre Barriault, but Marc-Andre Barriault is not good. Nobody's telling me otherwise. Puna Soriano, which is actually kind of impressive, but still. But the hypes on Puna's nowhere near what he used to be. And then Dwight Grant. Guys, Dustin Stoltzfus lost to Bruno Ferreira, Abus Magomedov, Jeremy Richard, Rodolfo Vieira, Kyle Dawkins. You're telling me Kelvin Gastelum can't go out there and outstrike Dustin Stoltzfus for 15 minutes? He should retire if he can't, okay? This is automatic, plus 130. If you don't like Zachary's, go to Dusko Todorovic, okay? But these 3 legs should hit, and I feel pretty damn good about it. Let's move on to our 4th best bet of the video, Rob Font money line. Are we not going to learn about Rob Font against these up-and-coming prospects? But here's the thing about this one, okay? And I've gone with this narrative a little bit that, they just trying to keep, they try to get, they want Font out of there, right? They're giving Font these up-and-coming guys who are supposed to beat him. Okay, that was the case against Kyler Phillips, right? Kyler Phillips is like a minus 400 favorite, and Kyler Phillips has been so extremely underwhelming in the UFC. I guess that was the case in the John Matsumoto fight, even though I had Rob Font to win. I didn't get that one, you know? David Martinez has had one UFC fight, and sure, he was booked against Quang Lee on this card, and that's how you get Santiago Luna on the main card as well. Just because you knock out Simon Oliveira doesn't mean you're going to beat Rob Font. Now, you're not going to find a bigger critic of the New England Cartel than myself, okay? I mean, I've pointed this out whenever we see New England Cartel, just one of their up-and-coming guys on an undercard of a UFC card, just an up-and-coming prospect, or we see a guy in the Contender Series. If we see New England Cartel, I sound the red alarms. Because we know, again, they are kind of a fraudulent camp who fight nothing but cans up until their UFC debut or Contender Series spot. It's always a red flag. Sure, they have talent. Every gym's got talent, and obviously Font and Cater, good fighters. Connor Matthews was kind of and they've got a lot of those guys like Connor Matthews that you just kind of shake your head at. But Rob Font can still get it done, and I'd argue a 38-year-old Rob Font is probably the best fighter in that gym. Don't forget Nick Fiore, who is horrible in the UFC as well, and Brandon Murat. How do they keep having just straight guys who just lose in the UFC? And Angel Pacheco. Oh my goodness, all their guys just lose. Raposo's about to get cut after he loses to Moscom too. This is crazy. Wow. And I guess Pellegrino just won in PFL, but my goodness, they do have they have Matinho too. Everyone in this gym loses. What do they celebrate here? Rob Font. I'm so serious. Guys, Rob Font's the only thing keeping this gym together right now. If Rob Font doesn't win tonight or on Saturday, what do they have to celebrate? What, Tom Pellegrino is winning the PFL against Cans? Come on now. Rob Font, and that's not part of the prediction, the bet, Rob Font needs to win it for the New England Cartel. I'm just saying, he's their best guy there right now, and you're fighting guys 1-0 in the UFC, he knocked out Simon Oliveira in his first UFC fight. What did Simon Oliveira do in the UFC? He got knocked out. Or Tony Gravely bitched him, Daniel Marcos TKO'd him, and then David Martinez beat up on him. I mean, Simon Oliveira got his contract by beating Jose Alday, who then proceeded to never win a fight ever again after losing to Oliveira on the Contender Series. What I'm trying to make out of all of this is David Martinez is not on this level yet. He's not ready, right? Phillips was ready. I'd argue maybe Matsumoto was ready a little bit too, even though that was a replacement fight for Dominic Cruz. I got the Matsumoto booking. He was 2-0 in the UFC, but, he was undefeated in LFA. He was a 17-0 professional or 16-0 professional. I got that. David Martinez is 12-1, and he only beat Simon Oliveira. I don't get this one. And I know they were just trying to fill the card, but come on now. This is, no. Rob Font's going to go out here and out kickbox David Martinez, I believe, for 15 minutes. The power threat's going to be there. I understand. Oh, Martinez might land a bomb. Guys, what has limited Rob Font, I said this earlier in the week, what has limited Rob Font throughout his last 5 bouts has been wrestling. Everyone has gone there, and that's the blueprint now to beat Rob Font. You just wrestle him. Hell, Matsumoto tried it, and Matsumoto almost got away with it and almost beat Rob Font with wrestling, right? Corey Sandhagen, and yes, Sandhagen got injured. I think it was a bicep injury or whatnot. He had a torn bicep. Still went out there in Nashville and beat Rob Font. But what did Corey Sandhagen do the entire fight? He wrestled. And sure, again, I don't know if that was always the game plan until the injury happened, but I guess Sandhagen kind of gave out the blueprint to how to beat Font. You just wrestle him. David Martinez will not wrestle Rob Font. David Martinez doesn't wrestle at all. I mean, I don't know. I've watched quite a bit of David Martinez tape. Okay, he doesn't usually wrestle. I've seen maybe like one takedown he's ever attempted in Kabate. He doesn't wrestle. Okay, trust me, he's not going to take down Rob Font. Or if he tries to, okay, Rob Font's going to get the better of those wrestling exchanges to the point where if I'm Rob Font, actually, I'm welcoming the takedown because that just puts David Martinez in a worse position if you try to take down Rob Font. Because now, okay, you're wasting energy on a takedown. His takedowns aren't good, okay? Because obviously, if you're not shooting them all the time in your fights, it's probably not going to be a good idea to shoot them against a top 10 guy in Rob Font. Font's just going to stuff them, and that's just going to make it a whole lot harder for David Martinez to win in striking exchanges. We're fine here. We're perfectly fine here with Rob Font. Rob Font's going to win, believe you me, okay? He's lost, and this is my argument that I made with, like, Gaslam. Like, look at the guys Gaslam's fought. Look at the guys Rob Font's fought. Sure, again, take Matsumoto out the equation, I guess, and Kyler Phillips overrated ass out the equation as well, but, like, Figueiredo, Sandhagen, Vera, Aldo, sure, he lost all this fight still, but Garbrandt, Moraes, he beat and knocked out. He's not going to have a Sergio Pettis. He's not going to have a problem with David Martinez unless Martinez chins him, which could happen. But guys, Rob Font's never been knocked out. He is 38. He's getting on Unk status, but he's never been KO'd. Something about these cartel guys, right? Like, again, he doesn't really get knocked out. Calvin Kattar doesn't get knocked out. I mean, Calvin Kattar got 50-42 and still went in there and survived against Steve Garcia for 15 minutes, okay? These dudes don't get knocked out. So I think we're okay. I don't know, maybe it's the clam chowder over there in New England, but I'm taking Rob Font to beat David Martinez, minus 140. This is, again, as Corey Anderson once said, there's levels. This is exactly what this fight is. Give me Rob Font minus 140. Next up, our last best bet of the video and the main event best bet. Not going to pick a side. Well, I already have picked a side. It's John Silva. Now, I don't know. I'm not, be the first to tell you, I'm not the biggest MMA nerds fan, fighting nerds fan. I'm not. But it is what it is. Nina Drama made them a lot more unlikable, I'll be honest with you. I wish that the fake story that she was going to go cover Dancing with the Stars was true, but, you know, unfortunately it was not. She's still around our sport. Can they take her to boxing, please? Anyways. I've already said John Silva's winning the fight. And I think John Silva's going to knock out Diego Lopez in the first round. But we get 2.5 rounds here. We get 12.5 minutes. Yeah, John Silva's going to find a knockout before the 12.5 minute mark. But even if he doesn't, hold on now. There's a chance. There's a very slight chance. And I don't think it's going to happen. But John Silva could get fraud checked here. I don't think he's going to. I do think he's kind of legit. I think he'd lose to Volk if he fought him. I think so. I think he'd probably lose to Aljamain Sterling too. Yair, he'd probably beat. Lerone, I'd probably go John Silva. It's just, I think the veteran guys would probably beat John Silva. Just because they can wrestle and they can change things. They can change levels and they can just change the fight. My point with all this being, though, there's a very slight chance John Silva just gets fraud checked here and Diego Lopez mops the floor with him. My point with all this being, though, if Diego Lopez finishes him, or if Diego Lopez wins, it's going to be by finish. If John Silva wins, it's probably going to be by finish. Guys, look at all of their fights in the UFC. Okay, I know Lopez has been kind of on a decision run right now with the Ortega fight and the Dan Ige fight. I'm not really going to consider the Dan Ige fight just because that was such a weird bout, right? Ortega pulls out 4 hours before the fight, and Lopez didn't even know who he was going to fight. He had to remake weight when he got to the arena. It is what it is. And Dan Ige is so hard to put away. The Ortega fight, if Diego Lopez doesn't hit Ortega while he's going out, he wins by knockout in the first round, okay? So that should have been a finish. Volk fight, that's a loss, and Volk's just that guy. He's third greatest fighter of all time, so that is what it is. Look at all of Lopez's other wins. Gavin Tucker, first round triangle armbar. Pat Sabatini, 92nd knockout. Sodiq Yusuff, 89-second knockout. When Lopez is at his best, he's getting finishes in the first round. Will he finish Silva in the first round? Probably not. Will he win? I don't think so. But if he does, that's probably how he does it. I think so, right? So we've made a lot out of, the finishing ability of John Silva, how he should be able to do in the first round. While, again, I do believe that is extremely true, and I think that, that's going to be right there for him. At the same time, we can't forget about Diego Lopez, which, again, I'd rather bet this over I mean, even if we got John Silva at minus 140 odds or minus 135 odds, like we get this under, I'm taking the under over this. I am. Over John Silva money line. Just because again, I think Silva's going to win. I think Lopez is extremely hittable, but at the same time, how do you combat being hittable? How do you combat power coming back your way? You just throw back and throw harder. So if I'm Diego Lopez, I think my best chance to win this fight's early in the bout too. And yeah, you'd think maybe your cardio is better, your gas tank's better. I don't know. If I'm Diego Lopez, I'm going for the kill early. I'm going for the victory. Why wouldn't you? When you went on your run and when you got your title shot, that's what you were doing. When you were at the peak of your fame, essentially, you were going through guys in the first round. Sodi Gusev's no slouch. Is he what John Silva is? No. But he knocks out Sodi Gusev in 89 seconds. And for John Silva, well, he does nothing but finish fights. Weston Wilson, first round knockout. I get it. Weston Wilson may be the worst UFC fighter ever, but first round knockout of him. Charles Air Jordan, second round knockout. Third round early finish, doctor stoppage of Drew Dober. Melzik Bagdasaryan, first round knockout. The Darce/Ninja choke on Bryce Mitchell at UFC 314. Second round. Every single fight that John Silva has had has gone under the 2.5 round mark. And I get it. He hasn't had to fight in a main event. He hasn't gotten the 5-round environment, the 25-minute scheduling. I understand that. I expect a finish in this one. And again, my pick for this fight was John Silva first round knockout. Why? Lopez gets hit too much. He doesn't have much head movement. Head sticks up straight in the air. He will throw, but when he throws, the head's right there to get hit, right? Volk was tagging Diego Lopez. And Volk never had the most power in terms of I think he's got power. I just don't think he chooses to throw it the most of it. John Silva throws with power. He does. This is a kill or be killed fight. That's what it is. Someone's going out. I think it's going to be Diego Lopez, even though I wouldn't mind Lopez wins. We just need this fight to last less than 12 and a half minutes. I think it's going to happen. I think we see pure striking. If we see a grappling fight, I actually don't know. I think Lopez probably is better grappling, but I don't know. John Silva, his grappling's been pretty good too. I would expect it to be Diego Lopez to win on the ground. But I very certainly expect Diego Lopez to win on the ground. However, I think we see a striking bout, and I believe John Silva wins it. I think Diego Lopez is too hittable, and I think John Silva hits too hard. If not, maybe Lopez turns the tide and he finds a way to the knockout. Regardless, though, the under 2.5 rounds should hit in this bout, and we're going to be taking it. Minus 135 for the under in the main event of UFC Noche between Diego Lopez and John Silva. Folks, thank y'all for watching our UFC Noche best bets here on the channel. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you did disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.